Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Train the Mind by NeuroSmart podcast, where we will discuss effective tools and techniques that prepare the mind for optimal performance under stress. My name is Melissa Balba, and I'm the founder and CEO of NeuroSmart, where we're developing self-regulation training designed to improve decision-making under stress, specifically for cops and other high performers such as military and athletics. Now, today our guest is Wayne Unger. I'm very happy and excited to have him on. Wayne is a use of force instructor at the Justice Institute of British Columbia, and he's also a sixth-degree black belt in Kodokan Judo. Wayne is here to tell us. I met him at the GIBC Use of Force conference just a few weeks ago, and I was very impressed by the wellness training that he's implementing at the academy. So I wanted to have him on and teach us a little bit about how he's teaching different yoga and meditation techniques to cops. Well, welcome, Wayne.
Oh, good morning. Thank you.
So can you tell us first a little bit about yourself? How did you first get into law enforcement and use of force training?
Right. Well, I think I stumbled into law enforcement. It wasn't one of those things that I thought as a kid I would do. I think I was around 21, 22 when I decided to pursue policing. How I came to that decision, I have no idea. But here I am as a police officer, and I've been a police officer for 30 years. I retired 4 years ago, and now almost a full-time instructor at the Justice Institute of BC Police Academy. The reason why I became a use of force instructor is when I was a young kid at 13, I joined the Victoria Judo Club, and I never left. So after a couple stints in Japan training on and off the national team for 7 years, it seemed like a natural fit for my department to select me as a use of force instructor. So as a rookie and until now, as a senior officer, I've been teaching use of force to in-service members as well as recruits. I would say yes. For 34 years, I've been doing that.
That's really amazing. So you first you were a judo. You were doing judo at the time where you were selected to teach use of force.
That's right.
So
go ahead. Well, back then, I mean, use of force training was just kind of in its infancy. It was and it made sense given my department that I had the physical background, the knowledge on how to use force in judo. It was just a matter of applying it to the very simple tactics that we teach police officers every day. Yeah. And understanding the big picture and how people learn. And over the years, I've learned a lot in terms of how to teach people, what to teach them, what works under stress. And over the years, I've had many conversations with recruits and officers that I've trained that have said that what you taught me either saved my life or saved somebody else's life. And that could be it, or just I got through something because I heard your voice in my head to get through a very difficult situation. It's true. Yeah. So that's a very rewarding part of the
job. So tell us, that's fascinating. So I know nothing about judo. So tell us a little bit about the overlap between judo and defensive tactics.
Judo is a Japanese martial art Olympic sport. It is judo to the gentle way, but it doesn't appear quite gentle. It's a very aggressive, I would call it indoor rugby with heavy jackets. It can be quite physically demanding.
Okay.
But it relies on simple principles. Kazushi means picking somebody up balance. Even after so many years of teaching judo and practicing judo, I know basically 3 skills that I can do under stress, which kind of imbues my sort of thinking about use of force. I think we can get very complicated, and it's very interesting to get complicated when teaching. However, we have to look through the lens of the fight or flight response, what will work when somebody's tackled to the ground. So we keep things really simple. My philosophy is to teach less than 1% of what I know, because if I think we teach more, we give more options to the officers, and that'll slow down their decision-making time.
Right. And so what would you say when you teach like 3 things that you teach?
So very principles. I think from from the last 4 years, the training with the recruits, we can be a little bit more, have more freedom in terms of how we teach them. But I believe in, it was like when we had the COVID lockdowns, our training changed to 2, 3, 4 hour practices, and I ran it like a judo practice. So repeating the same skills over time, uh, creating confidence by layering them, intelligently layering skills to skills, but also the base of understanding how your body works in relation to another body, whether that's on the ground or standing. So simple drills would be, standing would be what they call some wrestling drills called, we call it pummeling and that kind of thing, which links to handgun retention, edged weapons. Some of the ground drills would link to, removing, say somebody's face down in the turtle position, how to remove arms, how to break them down, how to break the body down, how to use your pressure of your body to hold somebody down. And then in the province of British Columbia, we still use the vascular neck restraint. So we repeat at least a couple hundred times before they leave the academy. And we've had lots of success with that particular skill set.
Okay.
So it really is a practice, and it has to be viewed that way. Just coming out a barrage of techniques that you teach one off and never see again, which has historically been the case in my experience, does not work.
Yeah. And so when you teach the recruits, and you talked about practice and repetition, how many times, like how long is the academy? How much on hands-on practice?
Yeah. So we give them about 80 hours, which isn't a lot. This is to prepare them for when they on graduation. So 80 hours of in-gym scenario-based training, which is a couple days here and there. What I like, and I let the recruits know, we give you a scaffolding, a framework to for you to fill in and take responsibility for your training. It's not all encompassing because we have to cover everything from, say, simple takedowns to life or death situations.
Right.
It's not as easy as you think, but if you keep things principle based and reinforced, whether it's a low level skill or what I mean is a active resistance to full on deadly force, if there's some overlap between those two skill sets, in particular, understanding how your body moves with another, how impact you can have on that body, then I think that is pretty good. And we're doing pretty good that way. And again, the feedback and also the feedback I get through some of the scenarios we run, just like the litmus test of what we teach. In particular, the VNR has proven to be quite valuable when dealing with a very violent subject. And it's worked a few times on the street that have really been a lot of success in that area.
That's amazing.
I don't see any other way around teaching recruits. Of course, in service, we have to titrate or change things in different ways, but we can certainly apply the same principles, which I've done over the last 30 years.
So in terms of the applicability of the judo skills, and you talked about understanding your body in relationship to the other body and the impact you can have on somebody else. So police officers, I always see this as another tool in their toolkit, essentially, and so they can use physical bodily force on someone, or they can use a weapon, and then they have options for different weapons. In your experience, how does you being trained in judo, or at least having a foundation or the scaffold in judo, impact their decision making when to use force? Do you think that it increases or decreases certain types of force when they maybe feel more confident in their body?
I think the understanding of grappling or moving with another body, whether that's a grappling sport, jiu-jitsu, judo, or freestyle wrestling, or any of those have a significant overlap. To me, that's the foundation of all your skills, even your weapons, for example. Whether you're using your gun, your baton, OC spray, taser, or even on an ERT team, how you move, if you understand that within your body, which is what we're trying to convey to the recruits, is this understanding. How judo feeds into that. Personally, I think it's a backdrop. It's something I can draw upon, but I don't teach judo. There's no time for that. I mean, at the end of 8 hours, you get a yellow belt, which is a beginner.
All right. Okay.
The responsibility is far greater than that in terms of what we do. But if you can repeat drills, layer drills over time, what I do see from day one to the final day when they graduate is a tremendous success. And we have recruits that have passed the physical to get in. We have recruits that have been Olympians, and all have to go through the same training. What I've noticed is that the ones that just come in that want to be police officers with no sort of physical literacy succeed. And it's very rewarding to see that, and to see how that system has come together nicely.
Yeah, I bet. Is this common practice in Canada or in academies to teach yellow belt level judo basics to the recruits, or is this something that maybe you initiated in your
Yeah,
academy?
no, we don't teach judo here. We teach police skills, and
Yep.
I always label it an umbrella. Judo is not part of anything here. Sometimes we will use a judo gi to understand how to move with fabric, that kind of thing, with gripping and that kind of thing. But generally, it's a generic sort of creation here, and it's probably, I don't think it's unique to our police academy, but certainly it's not something that we replicate throughout Canada. This is something that's
Right.
within JIBC alone.
Yeah, that's I think there's a lot of variety in, at least in the US, the academies that I personally visited in types of training they do. And so that's why I wanted to ask if that's the case there as well. So switching gears a little bit, in your talk at the JIBC's Force Conference, you talked about yoga as well, and something that particularly grabbed my attention was you talked about a certain pose called Viparita Karani, which is legs up the wall pose. You show pictures of recruits putting their legs up the wall after maybe a training. Can you tell us a little bit about this? And are you personally a yoga practitioner as well, or?
Yeah. So around when I was 27 years old, I had significant back pain from judo, and I decided to do something, and it happened to be yoga, and it happened to be a Unger yoga in Victoria, BC. And I was really grateful for that, for the if you know Iyengar yoga, they're quite precise and detailed in terms of how they teach poses. So I've been practicing Iyengar yoga on and off since I was 27, and it cured my back pain and actually allowed me to be here talking to you today. It's also one of the, I would say yoga was even harder than judo to learn. There's just so much depth involved. And, but you can pick poses that will help recruits. And so when I started teaching here 4 years ago, I always ended each class with leg stretches, which I had learned. It was my first yoga class by a very prominent Iyengar instructor in Canada. And this was the cure for back pain. So I would teach that. And what I noticed is when I was teaching these basic leg stretches that took for about 5, we'd lay down with the belt to our foot, would take about 5 minutes, and then we do what we call a shavasana. And the recruits just craved it. They would ask for it. If I missed it, they would go, "Are we doing this today?" And then we moved on. I will still do leg stretches, but Viparita Karani is a pose that is literally the first pose I learned in Iyengar yoga. I remember going to the class and seeing all the students with their legs up the wall, wondering what that was. And I actually did Viparita Karani last night at my yoga class with my Iyengar instructor. And it just seems to reset the nervous system. So when you do a 3-hour practice, there's lots of sweating and hard work. I think to really embed the learning, you have to counterbalance that with something. And a parasympathetic response is what we're trying to do here. I don't tell the kids that or the recruits that, but what you'll notice is that at the end of a hard practice, they're just literally waiting for legs up the wall for me to announce that. And literally they run or scurry to the wall in the gymnasium and swing their legs up after I've demonstrated, which is it's a very easy pose to teach.
It is.
And the very basic level. Put your hips against the wall, swing your legs up. That's it. And they just run. And usually within about, they're chit-chatting like they're at summer camp for the first 30 seconds to a minute. But what I notice is I don't have to say stop talking or any of that. They automatically stop talking. It just happens naturally. I'll get to put their hands on their belly if it's crowded, to breathe into their belly. I will ask them to close their eyes. Then we'll talk. Then I'll sort of lead them through some relaxation techniques in the body,
Mhm.
and then just focus on the breath. And even then, some recruits, they'll focus on the breath. I'm not sure if they're all doing it, and I'll just say, hey, if you don't even want to do that, just
Yeah.
lay there, and 5, 10 minutes every practice. Uh, they roll over, they get up, they're quiet. I think the training is set in, and they're ready for whatever else that they have to do at the police academy. And I've been doing that naturally for 4 years now. It wasn't something I thought, oh, let's include this.
Right.
It didn't seem special. It just seemed like this is what we do. You know, um,
Yeah.
this is what, at least what I do. And every instructor that's come here and worked with me, and I work with them, have have noticed that, and that's how I was asked to present at the conference based on that observation. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So the kids love it. Then about a year and a half ago, the director, Jen Keys of the Police Academy, asked me to teach the wellness. It was being taught by police officers who probably didn't have the same background I had, so probably didn't understand how powerful this kind of these classes can be,
Hmm.
and was mostly just sort of uh, talking about nutrition and sleep and all that, which is fine, and I definitely do talk about that. And
Right.
usually it's a conversation between me and the recruits back and forth because I learn a lot from them.
Hmm.
And it starts after the first wellness class. It starts with a 5 minute guided breath meditation and ends with a 5 minute guided breath meditation. Sometimes I'll put music on the background, some binaural beats,
Hmm.
maybe even Krishna Das. Sometimes I'll put him on,
Hmm.
and the kids will just relax or just silence, which is nice as well. And there was no resistance. You just ask people to do it, and they do it. It's of course, obviously, I'm in charge of the whole situation. I get that they feel like maybe
They don't have a
there's,
choice.
yeah, probably. But yeah, I don't let that those thoughts enter my mind. This is what we're doing. Well, just like at the conference, I thought, let's get everybody meditating, and there was no resistance. And
Yeah.
I've had feedback from people such as yourself and others that were there that they thought it was really quite something. And for me, it just seems simple. Like, yeah,
That's what you do. And you do meditate in your private life as well?
I have to say it's a sporadic thing.
Yeah.
I visit it once in a while. I have done a Vipassana. I really enjoyed that. I like to revisit that one as well. So
Vipassana is just for the listeners, the silent meditation. Is that right?
yeah, it was for I believe 8. This was 8 days, and it was quite
Yeah.
something. So maybe that sort of lodged itself in my body somehow.
Yeah.
I don't have a regular. I don't have a regular meditation practice,
Hmm.
but I do try to pay attention to my environment. I try to notice things, and in
Yeah.
particular, when I started teaching wellness, I thought we could do meditation, but what can the police officers do in real time?
Right.
And what can they do to improve their situation assessments? So I kind of touched upon the work of Ellen Longer.
Hmm.
She's I started listening to her. I think it was the first podcast was quite a few years ago. I heard her speak. Then I read her book, and it made sense to me that because she doesn't meditate, she's pretty clear about that. But she said by noticing new things and paying attention to your environment shifts your focus in the moment and the now.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can teach. You can talk about it, but you can say, here's the benefit. You do you're going code 3, say down Main or down Broadway or some other street in another city in British Columbia, and you imagine yourself going code 3 and noticing your breath, noticing new things as you're passing through intersections at high speed, getting in a car at a hot call, and picking up things that you normally wouldn't pick up on because you did this kind of work. And some of the recruits have told me that that's exactly what they did, and they felt amazing. Some have not. And so
Mhm.
this is not something that's again a one up.
Yeah.
Probably 40 meditations. Maybe a few will adopt it. Maybe 5 years they'll adopt it because they'll hit a tough situation in their police career or personal life where they'll go, okay, I remember Wayne Unger
Or
talked.
something we talked
Yeah,
about.
you plant the seed. It's just like yoga. I can remember some of the instructions, like, you know, lengthen or lock the knees or whatever it was. And I'm thinking, what the hell does that mean? And then, 5 years later, it finally made sense to me. So I like to think some of it sinks in um, to them. They certainly, there's no resistance from the administrators and the leaders of this police academy. In fact,
Mhm.
they asked me to do it. So yeah.
Wonderful.
So wellness is, we talk about diet, sleep, some of the things that you might have to deal with as a police officer that cause some significant stress, um, how to navigate some of the situations
Mhm.
that may present problems for you. Yeah. And then again, reinforcing the meditation every single day.
Yeah. Um, that's interesting. So you would say basically with just like meditation would improve situational awareness in a police encounter because you are now picking up things that your brain wasn't picking up on that before.
Yeah, I think it broadens your bandwidth for sure.
Yeah.
So if you're clouded with fear and heart rate and all that, which will happen,
Right.
that may happen automatically, or spontaneous assault, um, increases your bandwidth, so you are a safer officer in many
Yeah.
ways. I'll say, at the end of a call, imagine pulling over your car and just doing a few breaths before to your next call to reset your
Yeah.
system. So I'll describe a few situations like that they can
Yeah.
incorporate in their everyday
Yeah.
use.
So this meditation teaching wellness is happens in the academy. Is it a different class that they go to, or is it within the context of the defensive tactics or use of force training?
It's a separate class.
Okay.
So what's really special about that is now, because I have more contact with them in this particular area of use of force as well, wellness, is that we can start even incorporating more in the use of force area
Yeah.
in terms of doing some of their grappling drills and breath work at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, so we can reinforce it constantly before a scenario. Okay, just a couple deep breaths, or before there's scenarios that they're doing here, just regular scenarios that they do a lot of the investigational scenarios
Mhm.
with other faculty, other areas of teaching here.
Yeah. No, that's really fascinating. That's something that we are trying to do at NeuroSmart. As you know, we discuss a little bit of how we try to incorporate meditation and the breath work into the use of force or scenario-based training because
Mm.
they are very tightly linked, but not if not maybe not in an obvious way. But like you said, that's when they do it, they immediately feel the difference of their decision making or their mind just being more free the next scenario, and that's that immediate feedback
Right.
is what makes the learning stick. So yeah, that's really amazing that you guys are starting to incorporate the breathing into the scenario training. Um, so yeah, you did mention that you didn't face resistance from the recruits. What about in service? Are you teaching
No, I don't teach
meditation?
in-service
Okay.
members at all.
Okay.
It's a different sort of thing. Now, if I had the opportunity to teach in-service again, I would certainly incorporate this. It
Okay.
was mostly the recruit program that allowed me to be more experimental, and I don't consider that, but just because of you get 3 hours, maybe once or twice a week with the recruits, you have a chance to really affect them. In
Right.
service, it wouldn't be a problem at all, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly incorporate it if you're doing some training. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to put some thought to that and how
Mm-hmm.
that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be that hard. I think departments are more open to this kind of stuff. I think there's also that view that wellness is something that, it's kind of like we just add into the situation.
Yeah.
We add it like legal studies. We're just going to throw wellness here and check that box.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
It
Right.
really has to be adopted and by the staff as well. So, and yeah, so, maybe they can be incorporated in staff meetings, maybe incorporated in other classes as well. Maybe legal
Yeah.
studies, they end with meditation or some breath work, 5 minutes of silence. But
Yeah.
that is not something that is happening now, but
Yeah.
I could certainly see it happening in the future. It really depends. Yeah. Mhm.
That's yeah, I agree with that. And it would really, like you said earlier, it would really help the
Mhm.
learning sink in
Yeah.
from the day and improve learning outcomes.
Yeah.
Just to maybe what can we do better, kind of ending to the conversation. If you had
Well,
unlimited time and resources, of course, police training always, there's not enough time, I feel, at least in
yeah.
the US, there's just not enough time uh, and resources. But if you did have unlimited resources, how would you expand wellness training in law enforcement? Um,
Well, from the recruit level, I think if the faculty kind of all buy into it, I think that would be really helpful.
right.
So, yeah, um, I can see that being adopted maybe 50%. I can just see that just based on the police community that I deal with and I interact with.
Hmm.
Um, so, but unlimited budget, again, wellness has to be viewed as not just an add-on, but an integral part of the police training,
Right.
and then incorporated it throughout different classes in that. And they teach tactics here, firearms training. Certainly, they could incorporate it there. I know there's some some instructors that may do that breath work. They call it tactical breathing or
Hmm.
the kind of stuff they do incorporate it, but I don't think it's emphasized enough.
Yeah.
Also, it'd be nice to incorporate some sort of methodology or some sort of some perhaps something that you're aware of is giving the recruits feedback so that they can see and feel the difference. Um,
Yep.
so that way they can know, oh, look, this is where I was before when I did this crazy scenario. Now I can see some improvement in terms of oh, maybe my response was still, maybe from a spontaneous attack was still there, but how do I get back to baseline? How do I get back to that, flow state of,
Yeah.
you they
Yeah.
can,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, I think that because you will be surprised and your heart rate will spike,
Hmm.
but you certainly don't want to have that going on for hours. That's a
Yeah.
normal reaction to our body. So if we could bring them back down to baseline and show them and prove to them that they can do this and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we find that to be very powerful, that real time kind of feedback to to see something basically physiological in their body,
Right.
to see their own recovery in real time and to have power over it. It's not just that sometimes it seem as like something you don't have any power, or just kind of are stressed or something, and
Right.
stress does that to you. It makes you feel like you don't it's taken over, but it's by definition, feeling like you don't have power or your resources are not sufficient. But to see that you can do something very simple and it will actually reset you quite a bit. And also I think in our experience we see pretty, like, people are surprised to see their levels sometimes, and also in relationship to for example, to their partner. So it's always an eye-opening kind of an experience.
Yeah, I wonder about myself, like
Yeah.
I can remember doing some heart rate variability 25 years ago when nobody was doing it.
Yeah.
But, oh yeah, I'm super calm, I'm super this, and I'm going, well, that's not where I want to be right now. And it took me a long time to kind of get to figure that out. And even then, it's a hit and miss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do my best, like we all do, and I can only imagine if I didn't have these tools, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you today.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
powerful.
it's true. Yeah, yeah,
All right. Well, Wayne, thank you so much for your time. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you
yeah.
and have you here. For the listeners, would you like to, if you want to learn more about these techniques, you can actually, now we'll have that on our app, on NeuroSmart app. Would you like to be contacted or?
100%. Oh, by the way, I was going to say, like, we get feedback at the end of your training, so all the recruits fill out an anonymous survey.
Okay.
And I would say, and the feedback for what I teach, but for who I am, is actually very positive. And you see it, like they like the yoga, they love the breathing, and they like the calmness of the teaching of the use of force. There's no yelling or screaming or any of that nonsense. It's a coaching situation. So
That's amazing.
the feedback is real and it's there, and it just pick up the ball and start doing this, and you'd be surprised.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
yeah, well, I'm open to anybody talking to me about this, or coming by if they want, or sending me an email, or having a conversation such as this one.
Awesome. What's the best email to reach you at?
WUNGER@jibc.ca.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
great. Well, thanks for sharing that. And if
Thank you
anyone
so much.
connect with them, you can also email me if you missed that email. Thank you again, and yeah, have a great rest of your day, and good luck with the new class. I know you're starting a new class today. So
Yeah, I'm grateful that you reached out to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
me too. Bye bye.
Yeah.